Good evening. Thanks for hanging in through a few technical difficulties. And welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight to learn more about Adoray's project to build the first ever hospice house in the St. Croix Valley region. My name is Kelsey Delander, and I'm the CEO at Adoray Home Health and Hospice. Joining me tonight is my amazing team of coworkers, including Roberta Bramble, our Hospice House Director, Karen Doyle, our Home Health Director, Caroline Calbert, our Director of Volunteer Services, Rachel Heinbuch, our CFO, Julie Hawley, our Director of Education and Palliative Care, Leanne Houston, our Office Manager, Amanda Gustafson, our HR Director, Kim Anderson, our Director of Development, and Mary Troftgruben, our Hospice House Director and former CEO. Also here joining me tonight are members from our supporting hospitals, which include majority owner, Western Wisconsin Health, and minority owner, St. Croix Regional Medical Center. Also joining us are members from Adoray's board, including Brian Lovedahl, Allison Page, Pam Herring, and Dave Dobachinsky was not able to join us this evening. And last but not least, joining us this evening is our campaign leadership team, who you'll hear more from later this evening. Bringing a hospice house has long been a dream of Adoray's. I was fortunate enough to become part of this team present here tonight to work on bringing a hospice house. In May of this year, I joined the team present here tonight. But prior to joining this team, my experience with Adoray was not in a professional realm, but rather through a personal experience when my grandmother was a patient of Adoray's hospice program. My family was fortunate enough to be able to provide the 24-hour in-home care necessary for in-home hospice. This required my family of 8 aunts and uncles and nearly 40 cousins to rotate shifts caring for my grandmother at all hours. Adoray nurses, aides, and caregivers would come in multiple times throughout the day to provide any necessary cares, including administering medications, assessing her pain, but more importantly, answering any questions that we may have regarding the dying process. They reassured us every step of the way. Because of Adoray, my family was able to honor my grandmother's final wish to remain in her home and not in a hospital or nursing home. My family was not only impressed by the skills and expertise of the Adoray caregivers, but also deeply touched by their compassion, which was evidenced when several caregivers came to my grandmother's services. When the opportunity presented itself to join the Adoray team this spring, there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to be a part of this team. But in doing so, I also recognized the void in Adoray services and the void in services available to terminally ill patients in the St. Croix Valley region. My family was fortunate enough to be able to have the resources available to rotate shifts so that caregiving didn't become overwhelming. Not every family or individual has this ability. Some families may not have the resources. Others may want to focus solely on supporting their loved one through the dying process rather than focusing on providing the physical cares. Regardless of the reason, a hospice house presents a viable alternative to a hospital or a nursing home. And that is exactly why we are here tonight, to come together as a community to build the first ever hospice house in the St. Croix Valley region. Now I'd like to turn it over to our development director, Kim Anderson, who's put together this wonderful event tonight and who's been working diligently alongside our campaign leadership team. Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody does it alone. And so this whole gathering tonight, it's been in the makings for months now. Some of you may know Adoray because you've experienced us with hospice or home health, or maybe you even know us from our Treasures from the Heart stores. which are our fundraising stores that are located in River Falls, Baldwin, and in Osceola. But some of you may have never heard of Adoray before, that you received the invitation to come to this event tonight and join us to hear a little bit about this project. So Adoray has actually been in this community for around 23 years. Give you a little bit of history on it. It is actually, or was actually, the brainchild of John Marnell, who was then CEO of Hudson Hospitals. And there were many independent hospitals in the area, but 4 of those independents came together. There was a volunteer hospice program in the Hudson Hospital, and a small home health services that were, I think, maybe out of Baldwin. But they decided that there was this great and growing need because one of the best places to receive care is in our own homes. And so the 4 independent hospitals, that was Hudson, River Falls, New Richmond, and Baldwin, came together and formed St. Croix Valley Shared Services. And they gave the name of their home health and hospice agency, I believe it was Heartland Home Care. A few years ago, there was a national company that moved into the area with the same name. So to avoid confusion, we renamed Adoray, gave Adoray a new name, and that came from the word adoration, because we absolutely adore our patients. And we actually adore our teammates and our community as well. So it was a perfect name. I know one of our former CEO, Mary Troff-Grubin, she's our founding CEO. In fact, John Marnell picked her up from the airport about 23 years ago in October, I believe, of this year. It will be 23 years. And fresh off the plane from North Dakota, and brought her in to interview her. And Mary sat down in basement of a little, building in Hammond, Wisconsin, or Hammond, and her desk consisted of 2 cardboard boxes and a chair. So we are really a grassroots organization, and we have grown through the years. We currently have 102 employees, and we have about 350 volunteers. So we have a lot of presence in the community, but unless you've ever needed our services, you probably don't know us. And so we're grateful to bring you all into the room so that you're able to hear a little bit about how we've been working behind the scenes throughout the community to make our community a better place to live, because we come into families' homes at a very fragile time of life, a time that is rife with healthcare challenges, and we do that with our home health arm, which is maybe after you've had a surgery, or you just need a little skilled help to get you back on the road to recovery. And the best place to recover is in our own homes, where we feel comfortable. And then sometimes we're suffering from a chronic illness where, we could live for years with chronic illness, and you may need just a little bit of assistance from Adoray. And so we've been there to walk those challenges alongside our families. But we're here tonight to really talk about end of life. So if I were to take a poll in this room and say, where would you want to spend your final days? In what kind of a setting would you want to be in? And I think most of us would say, I just want to be in my own home. I want to be in my own home where I'm around familiar surroundings and smells and sounds, and my loved ones, the people that I care about, and those that love me. So that's what we try to do with hospice. Hospice is a holistic approach to end-of-life care, and there is a marker. The patient to go on hospice care needs to have a prognosis of 6 months or less to live. And hospice services are generally paid, or largely paid, by Medicare, that's one of our largest payers, but it's also paid by private insurance. And for those that aren't, that are underinsured, we never turn anyone away who needs our care. So we bring in this holistic team that is, the leader of that team is you yourself as a patient, and then your family. We bring in an RN, a social worker, some CNAs to help with personal care. Spiritual care is there with a chaplain if that is requested. And we have a crew of volunteers that will come in to do anything that you want so that we can free up your caregiver's time, your loved one's time, so that gives you more time to be just the wife or just the husband or just the daughter or just the son. So you can just be and enjoy while we clean your house maybe, or make a meal for you, or maybe we sit with your loved ones so that you can get away to run an errand or to maybe go out to lunch. It's stressful being the caregiver. And that's kind of where the idea of a hospice house comes in. Ideally, we would love to be at home. And if there's a good caregiver in the home, that is where we like to provide that care. But sometimes there's very many reasons why that care is not possible, but one of the greatest reasons is because of caregiver breakdown. With all the best intentions, we think when we find out that our loved one is going to go on hospice, and we think we can do this. We're gonna rally around Mom, and we're gonna come in and provide all the care she needs. And the process, the days and weeks go on, and it's not just the physical care that is probably weighing on us, but it's also the emotional and the mental care, or the mental work that has to be done too. So anyway, right now, when it becomes either unsafe or too burdensome to care for our loved one in their home, options are kind of limited. Currently, in our area, they would have to go probably to a nursing home, and that's if there is space available, a room available, or possibly an assisted living. But again, there needs to be a caregiver for that scenario to work out. So there are probably 10, 12 hospice houses located in Wisconsin, about the same number in Minnesota. But in this area, in St. Croix River Valley, we have the largest geographical area in the state without a facility dedicated to end-of-life care. Excuse me. What we are proposing is to build a hospice house, and a hospice house would be very home-like. It is residential. We did a feasibility study in 2008. They sent in experts who will look at our hospice program, and they will look at our service area and do demographics. And in 2008, the study came back and it said, you're not quite ready yet for a hospice house. Your community couldn't support that. And neither is your program. It doesn't merit it yet. So we made a few improvements to our program. Another thing that helped was that hospice is actually becoming very popular with people, whereas before the word hospice scared people, silly, and they would avoid it at all costs. But there's been enough education done on the benefits of hospice care, and how it frees up the family, and just a better understanding of what the process is. And so that made our census grow as well. So in 2013, we invited the same company in again to update the feasibility study. And the study came back and it showed that This community, our service area, at the time, which was Pierce, St. Croix, Polk, and just the western portion of Dunn County, would support an 8 to 10 bed hospice facility. We have since that study came in, have our hospice services have actually seen growth of over 50% in number of hospice patients utilizing the service, and also the number of days that people spend on hospice has expanded. So that has made our hospice program extremely viable. And on top of that, back in 2008 when the original study was done, we were the only hospice serving this area. Since then, there are about another 4 hospices along with us that serve our service area, and in spite of that, our program has grown more than 50% over the last 2 years. So we decided that maybe we should investigate this hospice house a little bit more diligently, and we put together a small internal steering committee, and with a few community members at that time, and we thought we'd get serious about this. About a year and a half ago, we celebrated, or 2 years ago, we celebrated our 20th anniversary. And while we were, we held that at the orchard out in Baldwin, Wisconsin. And a week or so afterwards, we went to visit Mary Hawksford, who was very generous and helped us put that celebration together. And we were just, she says, so what's going on at Adoray? And I said, well, we're going to build a hospice house. And she said, oh, okay, so where are you going to do that? And I said, well, study says that we probably should be somewhere along the I-94 corridor because of easy access for people to get to, and also it happens to be our population base where most of our patients are served. And she said, And she said, well, my family owns a lot of land along the I-94 corridor. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, well, just let me see what I could do. So I think she went and visited with Dad a little bit. I don't even see him in here. There he is. So we get a call from Mr. Pearson, and he wanted us to come and visit with him. And the result of that was that Dick Pearson and his family donated 3 acres of land for our hospice house just off exit 4 on I-94, and given that in memory of his wife and their mother, Jean Pearson. So we're very grateful for that. So thank you, Mr. Pearson. Anyway, do I have a timekeeper? Somebody watching my time here? Kind of a few things to get through. Okay. So one of the concerns that we did a community assessment study then, and we started visiting with a few people in the community who we wanted their thoughts on would a hospice house be welcomed in this community, and would the community support the hospice house, because we were going to have to launch a capital campaign. And the result of that was that I think we actually got to talk to 30 or 35 community members, and they felt that we definitely, well, it was needed, first of all, and that there was definitely support to complete a capital campaign. And some of our funders, though probably more so the foundations, just asked us how sustainable is the hospice house if we put this wonderful facility up, can it be financially sustainable? And so we had to go back and do a little work on that just to figure it out a bit. And we came up with a plan, and we found out that this is going to be sustainable, and it needs a little bit of help. So that is why we have, with our capital campaign, that we have placed an endowment component in that campaign so that we can fund patient scholarship, because there's going to be families that can't afford to stay at the hospice house and get the care that they need, and also for ongoing maintenance and maybe some operating funds. So along with that, we are also going to launch our first ever holiday gala, and this will be an annual event, and the funds for that will go toward the hospice house and also toward patient care. So this year, that event is going to be on December 1st. It will be held at Troy Byrne, and you are all warmly invited to join us that evening. When you leave tonight, there are packets that you'll be leaving with that have information on the campaign and on Adoray and on the gala. And so when you get home, you can open that up tonight for some light bedtime reading if you wish. Okay, so, well, I think overall the vision of this home really is to become a regional presence. Our service area is 6 counties big now. We expanded into Burnett and then also western Barron counties. But we want it to be a place where families know that we're there for them, that we can provide a holistic, natural environment for patients and their family members during those last days of a person's life. Again, I think that this facility will allow family members to just be and to just love. That there will be none of the responsibilities of managing pain or medications or personal care. You can just sit and share and love and do that very fragile and important work of saying goodbye. So I think from here, we have a little video that we'd like to play for you, short little 3-minute clip. This was prepared for us by Christensen Creative. You maybe have noticed in one of the displays out in front, that we have a list of volunteers, the leadership team, and our honorary members, and also a communications team. And Christensen Creative stepped up on the invitation of Dick Whitcomb, who I said he's a master recruiter here for many of us in the room, but asked her if she would help us with the project, with the campaign materials. And so they created a brochure for the campaign, a PowerPoint, and this video clip. And so I'd like to thank, at this point, just Tricia Christensen, and she put a full-time account person on this, Julie Bravin, and also Meg Heaton is part of our communications team. They all are donating their time, and we're just, very grateful. They're busy, important people, and they cared enough to help us out on the project. And I'd also like to thank Ajaz Sefola, and he is here tonight with Corridor Design. And Ajaz helped us come up with the logos and the initial concept for the campaign, and many of the beautiful posters that you see out here tonight. Ajaz created along with me, pestering him at all hours, and spent many nights. I seen a lot of the files came through at 2, 3, and 4 in the morning, so thank you, Ajaz, for that. So I'm going to play the video clip. It's 3 minutes long, and then the rest of the evening will be, we have 4 speakers that are going to give brief testimonials to tell you a little bit about why they feel a hospice house is important and what the difference might be between the care received in a hospice house versus maybe a nursing home. And then we will move and then we'll move on to the actual campaign, and our campaign co-chairs will lead that portion. So just giving you a framework so you know how long you're going to be sitting in your seat. We promise to get you out as soon as we can.
The St. Croix River Valley has grown through the years in beauty, families, and resources. But with this growth, our community is still missing one important resource that is essential to our story. And that is a house created specifically for the care and comfort of individuals at end of life. Currently, we are the largest geographic area in the state of Wisconsin without a hospice house. At Adoray Hospice, we recognize this immediate and growing need. Our hospice services have grown more than 50% in the last year, but we have a plan. We have already secured a serene location for a future hospice house thanks to a generous donation of land by an area family. Now we plan to raise $5 million to build a hospice house to support a 6-county area. This would include an endowment to help with future costs. This 8-bed house will be a place of comfort, offering spacious private rooms, windows with serene views, a dining room for family meals, walking paths and gardens, family rooms and a children's play area, and so much more. This house will be a home where patients can live out their final days with ample family accommodations. Our extensive community of volunteers will offer support, provide companionship, and make a difference at the patient's end of life. Our caring professionals will provide services to address the patient's physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. It's important for us to embrace and care for the dying and their loved ones. Please help us make this vision a reality. Give to the Adoray Capital Campaign and show that our community is committed to creating a legacy of compassion. The St. Croix River Valley has grown.
Very generous, and we're very grateful. So, all right. This next portion is what we call termed as testimonials, and our first speaker is Dr. Kristen Severson, and Dr. Severson is a physician at Hudson Physicians, and she is also Adoray's medical director for hospice. I believe she is also medical director for CCH, Christian Community Homes in Hudson here. And she is dedicated wife and a mother to one very busy little boy. And Dr. Severson just has the hugest heart for the aging. I think I read somewhere that just her love for her grandparents was one of the reasons that directed her into the caring for the elderly here. So anyway, she is a lovely individual and well-spoken, so you're going to enjoy her little talk here. But she has an incredible passion for hospice and for our hospice team and for the care that Adoray provides, I know. So, Dr. Severson, I turn the mic over to you.
I had to scribble it on the back of my homework paper for today. But as Kim said, the passion of grown-ups, and nobody's elderly in my world until you're 100 plus. So you guys are all getting to that point of growing up. And I recognize that things change. And I've been doing this for really 14 years, 15 years. And even in that time, my understanding and passion and approach for not only growing up, but to do it well, and to recognize that the people who are growing up are still people. And so I think that's why that geriatric medicine is so important to me because it's the time-consuming, the dirty, the smelly, the slow people that need our cares and compassions. And Adoray has really adopted those kids and said, they're ours. And it doesn't matter if we're struggling with acute things or the end of life. There's still a person in there. And so I am glad you said something about CCH. I was trying to figure out, I'm here to say the hospice house is such a need, but yet how do I do that without insulting CCH? Because they're my other home. And there certainly is a difference. But when I have the conversation with my patients and families and say, you know what, I've got bad news and we can't fix it anymore. We can't fix and put you in the medical model of pills and tests and hospitals and go and go and go because it's not going to help you live to be the person that you told me 15 years ago that you want to be. I take a big breath and say, you know what, this is a small community. I've got an elderly, let's pick on the husband and wife team. And now after 60-some years of being husband-wife, you're saying you're taking away my soulmate, my other half, because 6 months, 2 months, 2 weeks, and some other disease is going to take that person from me. So how can I put 60-some years of memories and what-ifs and hows together, and where am I going to do it? Because all of a sudden, my loved one is going to ask me to be nurse and bottle washer and cleaner and pharmacist and social worker and transportation, and then I'm supposed to still be strong because I'm the mother of the family. That's a lot on my shoulders. And during this time, how on earth am I going to be there for that man that twinkled his eyes at me 60 years ago across a baseball field? And that's that struggle that I see. And people, we want to do the best thing and we don't want to ask for help. And so when that time comes when I can't take care of that elderly friend, precious person to me, if I don't have kids in the area, my one monkey boy is certainly not going to calm down and take care of us when we're that old. I have a choice of going to a nursing home, which is good. But when I talk to my kids about saying, you know what, this is the time where we take pills away, we don't do tests, we don't do blood work, where are we asking these people to go? Right in the most highly regulated setting in our world. Every time you sneeze, somebody's got to document and say, why did you sneeze? What did we do about it? What did we do to prevent it? There's people coming and going to say, hey, how are you? Are you still sleeping? Oh, okay, I'm glad you're sleeping. Go back to bed. And so how can that be comforting to me? Sometimes we can make that happen, but oftentimes it's one more stress. How are we going to pay for it? How am I going to drive there? It smells funny in here. The walls are teal green. That's not what I want to do. And so it's an amazing missing piece in our community. We have a lot of support, a lot of need for this here, because even my parents, 60 years old, 70 years old, they say, whatever you do, don't put me in a nursing home. And we say, okay. But in the time that you need to be with family the most, guess what? You're moving into bed 108. I can't take care of you anymore. Because it's hard work. It's hard work to lift an 80-pound body, to roll the body. It's icky to wipe what comes out of body holes. And this is my friend. This is my loved one. I don't want to do that. It's my parent. I don't want to go there. So if we have an opportunity to say, you know what? You can't be in my home, but I can take you someplace where every single person there wants to be there. They understand the dying process. They understand that I need to be with my husband. I need to be with my kids, my family. That's where we need to have the ability to heal mind and body and spirit as we're coming to the end of that life. And I could keep going and going and going. But as I was thinking about that this morning, one little final thought. And if we go back to the Bible, the book of Luke, that's where we see the story of Martha and Mary. Jesus comes, and he is a grand guest, and everybody's all excited to have him in their home. And Mary sat at his feet, and she listened. He taught. She didn't do a thing. And Martha was like most of us. Oh, we got to go. We have to make the house clean. We have to give gifts. We have to do this. We have to get food. We have to do this, and we have to do this. And she came to Jesus, and she said, would you please tell my sister to help me? Why don't you understand it? And Jesus said to her, what Mary got today can never be taken away. And I think of that so many times when we're at that last moment to say, Dad, you taught me so well. Thank you, sister, for giving me the secrets on how to be happy and raise my own family. Look at that last twinkle in somebody's eye. And that's what can never be taken away. And by doing that in a home where everybody is there to pamper not only the individual dying, but the family, that's what we need. And that's what a hospice house can give that nothing else can do. So thank you for being here and being excited, because we can share this excitement community-wide.
Thank you, Dr. Severson. And I think we all know where your son gets all his energy. Okay. Our next speaker today is Nancy Parlin. And Nancy is very dear to Adoray as well. She has been a hospice patient care volunteer for, I believe, 18 years. And Nancy is just the gentlest person that you'll ever meet. Sweet and smart as a whip, let me tell you. So anyway, Nancy has served, is a member of our leadership team, and she was part of the initial steering committee 4 years ago. And anyway, I just can't really say enough good things about Nancy Parlin either. So Nancy, would you mind making your way forward here too? And oh, there you are, right in the corner, darn.
I don't know if all my former students would agree with all of those things or not. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who came. We've planned this and hoping to get the launch into the community and get the community talking about the project. So thanks for coming. Most of us can only imagine what it would be like to be a hospice patient, especially as the end of life becomes closer. 18 years ago, after having had some experience on how wonderful hospice could be with a friend of mine, I volunteered to work with Adoray. And I'm guessing that I have visited about 85 patients in those years. I've kept just a little tally in my file. As a volunteer, I have appreciated the hospice education program that Adoray offers and requires of all volunteers. Volunteers must come annually for training and learning. Each patient and each patient's living situation is certainly unique to them. Most often, by far, the home care is wonderful and full of love. But I have seen more than a few situations where the patient would have benefited greatly from the 24-hour service that a hospice house will provide, especially since the medical needs of patients coming closer to death can escalate and require more specialized and more continuous care. Our hospice house will serve just 8 patients, so that the care will be very focused on each individual's needs. The physical demands of home care can be just too much for the family. I have watched elderly couples as one spouse tries to steady the other to walk to a chair. I've been greeted at the door by the spouse who says, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. I'm just going to bed." They're just exhausted. For couples where the spouse is still working full-time or they're being taken care of by their adult children, I have visited patients who are bedridden and yet alone all day. Their medications are carefully arranged in one place. Their lunch is next to the TV remote. Their days are long, and it carries some risk. Another type of situation is where the adult children and their spouses are sharing responsibilities for the parent in the parent's home. And there is not agreement as to everyone doing their equal share. And this can get very tense. Presently, the alternative to home care is a nursing home or assisted living facility. I know that the hospice staff works closely with the residential staff who try their best, but they do not have the specialized training in hospice care toward the end of life, They have many patients to care for, and they have schedules to keep. Over the last several years, Adoray Hospice Committee has visited many hospice houses, and we have a firm idea of what it will be. First, it will be a welcoming, home-like structure. It'll take a little time, but we will have trees, gardens, and walking paths. Inside, you will feel that this is a quiet and home-like place. There will be 8 good-sized patient rooms, large enough for the family to gather, plus areas for families to rest and relax and for children to play. There will be excellent patient care around the clock by staff who have the commitment and the specialized training to meet the needs of end-of-life care. The patient's schedule for eating, bathing will be their own. The patient's comfort and well-being is the primary focus. But there will also be concern for the family and the loss that they are experiencing. The Adoray Hospice House will provide a level of advanced hospice care that currently is not available in western Wisconsin. Adoray began the planning for this 10 years ago, and everyone involved has agreed that now is the time to do it. Thanks.
Our next speaker tonight couldn't be here, and so this is Roberta Bramble, and Roberta is our Hospice Director. She wears a very big hat. She's does an important role at Adoray, and just like everybody, and I'm not just saying this, you guys, I always say I can't believe where I work. I work with some of the most wonderful, compassionate, large-hearted, tolerant, patient people in the world. So, and Roberta is definitely one of those people.
Thank you, Kim. I just want to echo what everyone else has already said, and thank you all for being here and spending your evening with us to share in the excitement of this project. As Kim said, I'm the Hospice Director. I was one of the original employees of Heartland Home Care Network. I came over from the Hudson Hospital Home Health and Hospice Program, thanks to John Marnell and Mary Troft-Rubin. I left Heartland for a period of time because my husband and I moved away. We moved up north where we grew up. But then I came back in 2009 when we expanded our service area. And I came back because of knowing the quality of the program and knowing, as Kim said, the heart and compassion and caring of the people who worked there. And I wanted to be part of that again. And as I said, this isn't about me. I'm standing in for Mike O'Connell. As many of you know, Mike O'Connell is owner of O'Connell Family Funeral Home. And he wanted to be here tonight to share some comments about working with Adoray, but due to a family emergency, he wasn't able to be here. As you probably realize, a funeral home has some interaction with hospices, and Mike has always been a champion of Adoray. So he wanted to share some comments. So please bear with me as I share his comments. It is with regret that I'm unable to make tonight's event for Adoray as I tend to some personal matters. However, I feel compelled to share my excitement and vision for Adoray. I am part of a small group of the community that has had the privilege to watch Adoray begin in hospice care through Heartland Hospice and now Adoray Home Health and Hospice. What has impressed me the most is that they have surrounded themselves with exceptional people offering great personal care. Everyone that I've ever encountered through this organization has been wonderful human beings. They are everyday people that you will see at ball games, the grocery store, or at church. Everyday people doing extraordinary personal care. To me,
This is what separates Adoray from all other home care and hospice programs. It is obvious that others do it as their job or business, but Adoray is a way of life. The benchmark of any good business is in the relationships that it creates. That is especially true in the service-oriented industry. Adoray always has and always will set the bar with their standard of care and community outreach, creating relationships. Obviously, there's a strong connection between the funeral business and hospice. It would be naive to think that there is an automatic working relationship between the two. That isn't always the case. With that in mind, I can say without any hesitation that we are blessed to have an incredible relationship with Adoray Hospice. For me, it goes without saying that when we work with a family that has been served by Adoray, they are well prepared for their journey through death as they've been cared for so empathetically and compassionately. I am excited for Adoray's future and the future hospice home they will be constructing. I would like to thank the staff from Adoray for putting together tonight's event and for being a leader in our community. Respectfully, Mike O'Connell.
Okay, our final testimonial speaker tonight is Ron Steele. And Ron, I believe, is a native of Hammond area. Woodville, oh my, okay, Woodville. Sam, okay. And is currently a resident of Clear Lake. Yes, okay. And he and his brother, Luke, have a business that is based here in Hudson. Ron has had a lot of experience with Adoray in the last 12 months or so. Ron has lost his mother, I believe her Socorro, and her nickname Socks was Sock. Okay, and shortly after the passing of his mother, Ron started the journey with hospice with his wife Wendy. So that's tough. And we reached out to Ron after we were trying to decide we needed to bring you a story of someone who had actually experienced our patient care. And that's such a tenuous thing to do, to reach back to people who are still probably grieving quite a bit. And but a few of our staff members attended Wendy's memorial service, and Ron had many wonderful things to say about the care that Wendy received with Adoray. And a few weeks after that service, Ron came to the office with a fistful of donations, memorial donations, and he said, I want this to go to the hospice house. And he said, if there's anything that you need from me, if there's any way that I can help, please don't hesitate to call. So the opportunity arose, and we reached out to Ron, and he was kind of hard to get a hold of for two reasons. One was I was one letter off on his email, and I couldn't understand why he wasn't responding to any of my emails. And the second reason is because he's a very busy man, and he's hardly ever in the area, so traveling the country. So I'm very grateful for you that you took some time to come here tonight, Ron, and I appreciate the comments that you're about to make. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It is truly, it's my honor to be here. And, my reason for really believing in this project stems from my own personal experience, but as much as anything else, it's the belief in the work and the people at Adoray. I mean, it really, you really are my family. sorry about that. But I knew I was going to be in a group of people that are going to be friends, family around us. And it hasn't been that long. And I tell you, it wasn't that long ago. I didn't even know what Adoray was. Hospice, meant what everyone thought hospice meant. So it was, didn't even talk about it. Didn't even think about it. And then my life changed. The last 3 years of my life have been tough. Probably the darkest, most difficult times I could even imagine. As Kim mentioned, it started with my mother, diagnosed with cancer. And it was a 2-year process, maybe 2.5 years. Everything you imagine, just so difficult. In and out of hospitals. And it really was my first experience of trying to figure out that I'm responsible for providing a level of care that was beyond what I even imagined. I had no idea. You grow up and it's other people. It's not yourself, and you think about it, you empathize with what they go through. But until you have personally experienced it, it's hard to even understand what really happens. And someone mentioned too, when you get family involved and great plans, everyone's going to volunteer, and unfortunately, the one that raised their hand the furthest, the rest say, "Oh, thank God he's doing it," because I'm busy now. So you find yourself just committed, and at any cost, you're going to see this whole thing through, and try to do it. So we did. We got Mom, set up, and it was probably 2 years into it, and the exhaustion level is unreal. And just at the right time, in prayer, my prayer was answered in the form of an angel by the name of Julie Holly. Yep. Our families have been friends for all our life. Julie, I think I'm 27. You're about 33, give or take a couple years in there. So we've known each other forever in the process. But she really helped educate me and understand what is available. I had no clue. And I was trying to, at the time with Mom, I'm trying to find a cure. I'm trying to figure out how to save her. So I did more study, more research. If I would have studied that hard in school, I would have been, had a PhD by the time I was in 8th grade, by the time with all this stuff. But I thought I knew everything and ran everything I could possibly do. But Julie really set me up, and the staff, and the nurses, I can't say enough about it, and I'm forever grateful for you guys on that part of it. But, as often happens in life, it throws you a curve. And it wasn't, my gosh, 2 months after Mom passed away, Wendy had a pain on her side, and not too unusual, but we just went and got checked out. And sure enough, we had a call, and the doctor said, "I got bad news. You want to be sitting down or come in." And it was cancer. And it wasn't, just you're thinking, how could this possibly happen? Just 2 years with Mom, it was just so intense care and just total exhaustion. And then all of a sudden, we got cancer again. And like I say, it was bad. It wasn't the kind saying, "Well, what do we do to treat?" Basically, it said, you got months. I'm thinking, how can our lives be changed so dramatically in such a short period of time? So we talk about older people, and you think about that, but you don't think about someone that's 55 years old, that's going through this, and so rapidly things are happening. So, knowing we only had a few months, my family, everyone was wore out. And so it came time to figure out, okay, what do we do? And I really just didn't want to burden my family. Even though they would have stepped in a heartbeat, it just got to the point I couldn't do that to them. So I figured, okay, I'm gonna take it. And I tell you what, at that moment, I truly felt that I was probably the only person in the world ever going through this, that I was alone. I've become so focused on just the task at hand that it was a very, very lonely experience at that point. And the only comfort I really had was going through what I learned from Mom and through Julie. And the other real comfort, the real comfort was knowing that I had my Adoray family that had my back. Such a time thinking, why would that be such a comfort? But it was. I knew what I was going to go through, and I knew that I had people to be able to help me get through this process. And that was truly the greatest comfort I had. And I got to tell you, too, I mean, I'm a strong person, physically, mentally. Truly, probably as tough as they come. And I barely made it. I mean, I barely made it. I tell you, I would pray at night. 3 things: cure, comfort. I said, just let me live 1 more minute longer than Wendy, just to carry her through, so she'd get through. That's how tough it is when you do stuff on your own. I had care. I had people there, but my eyes were open, and I've been blessed professionally. I literally was able to take 1.5 years off work to take care of my mom and take care of Wendy. I'm thinking, how many people can do that? I mean, I was so lucky to be able to do that, and how tough it was for me. So when I think about, having this house being built, the people that really, they need it. I had resources. I had financial resources. I had things I could do. I was able to keep Wendy at home, for the time frame. And I can remember a time we had to go into the doctor, probably in that time, that 9-month time frame that Wendy, I was selfish enough to keep her for 9 months. I remember coming back from the doctor's office one time, and I got my house, as Julie knows, I got stairs everywhere in that house. That's not the place to be, taking care of someone at that point. I remember coming back one day, and there's 12 steps. It took 2.5 hours for me to get Wendy up 12 steps. 2.5 hours. And we stayed there at that point. She had a beautiful area, sunroom. She could overlook the horses, everything that's there. It was home for her. And that's the key thing. It's the word home. The care is there. Without a doubt, the people at Adoray provide the incredible care. But it's having a home. And that's what excites me about this project and seeing this, that it's going to create a home for someone at any age, someplace they feel comfortable. There was times, I truly felt if I could have had, obviously I wanted Wendy home, but the amount of care it took, I thought, boy, it would have been nice to have some extra care so I could just focus on just loving her and not spend so much time and so much energy that when someone did come, I just fell asleep. I couldn't even function after that point. Sorry about the tears, guys, a little bit on that one. I just want to, there were other notes here, but I was going to skip through that. Today, now that I'm alone, and it's not to be selfish by any means, but I think about it. Where would I go? If something happened, even if I got family, I'm still not going to obligate my family. Even if I have funds and money to do something, where would I go? And that's strange when you think about, at a young age. But, I've always planned. I've always thought about things like that because it's just always secured my future to plan ahead. And not that I'm saying I can't wait to go there, but I look at it and say, I want a home. I want a place that I can go and not burden my family necessarily, but have the ability to be taken care of. And that's what excites me, again, about everything that's happening here, and that's why my heart's in it with you guys. I'm committed to be able to help you guys everywhere I can, whatever I can do, and it may just be a voice. I think just educating people so they understand, and then someone mentioned, maybe Kim, you mentioned it, that hospice as far as the term and what it is, and that people understand it a little bit better. I sense that that's happening, in our community. Some of my best investments I invested in people. That's been my best return on my investments, and I see this being an investment in our community, in good people, and the return's going to be there without a doubt. If anything, I think I was talking to John, he mentioned something about too. I can't imagine that you wouldn't fill 8 to 12 rooms pretty darn quick. I mean, I think I see probably even a bigger project down the road. I think it's going to carry that kind of momentum in this marketplace to have that. So I'm excited for you. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for letting me share just a few minutes with you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. That's tough. Now we're going to move on to discuss a discussion about how can we make this happen in our community. And we've had some great community leaders step up as volunteers to help with this project, and we're just so incredibly grateful. One of them being even our former CEO, who stepped down when Kelsey arrived in May, but has transitioned to continue the leadership onto this really important project. And it's interesting that we've kind of come full circle, that John Marnell, who helped create Adoray and for what it is today, but that he is part of this project as well. And then Lance and Carrie Whittaker, who are, Carrie is on the school board, the local school board, and Lance is the Chief Information Officer, I believe, at Anderson Windows. They have chaired this campaign, so I'm going to turn the speaker over to them and invite them to come up and share how we can make this project happen in our community.
Thank you, Kim. It's really a delight for us to be here. I have a great deal of history with this organization, and I'm not going to go through that because several people have already mentioned it, but it's a big deal in my heart to be part of this effort. We have been pretty successful so far in being a group that really just started. We've asked several people to help us be on our advisory committee and on our honorary committee, and virtually every gosh darn person that we asked said yes. And virtually all of them, including the staff of Adoray, have pledged money to be successful in this fundraising effort. And so Lance and I are going to help describe for you briefly, because we're going a little over time, what we need to do and how it can be done. The hospice location has been settled. You heard that. Dick Pearson, are you still here? Anyway, it's one marvelous person to help us with a major part of making this a reality. And we couldn't be more thankful for Dick and his lovely daughter, who really is helpful to us. Thank you, Barry. As I said, we've had some luck and goodwill toward our project, and maybe, Kim, you can put up a slide that would help you know what we're talking about. Well, if it doesn't come up, I'll tell you. We have, as I mentioned, a group of volunteers on our leadership committee. There's Dick Pearson. Give that guy a hand, because he's probably like most of us old guys, you got to go to the bathroom once or twice during these meetings. At any rate, we have a great group of people that are on our leadership team. We've been meeting, I don't know, for 3 or 4 months, maybe more than that. But they're very committed, and they've all made pledges to this campaign, and we are absolutely delighted with that. All together now, we have raised $451,000 toward this project, which is a good start, but that's only 10% of the way to where we need to go, which is $5 million. And recently we changed the goal from 4.3 million to 5 million after we realized that we wanted to be successful, and we really must have funds to take care of people that don't have the funds to take care of themselves. And that's a critical part, I think, of the fundraising for this opportunity that we have. I'd like to thank those people that spoke to us. I know most of them, except Ron Steele. I've never met you, and you're one heck of a guy. Thank you so much for what you said to us. I've worked with Dr. Severson, and she's been my physician, and Nancy Parlin and I know each other for the last 20 years or so, and thank you for what you do. And of course, Mike O'Connell is a terrific guy. At any rate, we think we're going to be successful, but it's a major project to raise $5 million, and we're going to give you an outline if we think we have it. Well, anyway, we have it broken down, and I believe in what you're going to be given tonight might have that information in it, or am I incorrect about that? Oh, got an expert walking up. So this is Lance Whittaker, and our wives are sitting over there, and they're more important to this project than Lance and I are, but thank you, ladies. The function is not available. Oh, my goodness. Well, we know it works because we saw it earlier, but at any rate, I guess we're going to have to wing it, friends.
Okay, that's okay.
All right, so Lance, here you are.
Well, yeah, I know it's been said multiple times, but you know, first of all, it's been a privilege in my short time to get to know Adoray, and I feel privileged to be a part of this campaign. Carrie and I, when we learned a little bit more about the project and everybody that we've talked to about the project, they're unbelievably overwhelmed. First, by the fact that we don't have this capability, number one, and then secondly, in almost the same breath, we hear, how can I be a part of that? And so thank you for being here tonight, because it's so important. This is the kind of where we've been in a quiet period of the campaign, and now we're starting to be more public with kind of what our aspirations truly are. As John said, we plan to raise $5 million, and that doesn't happen by just one individual. That happens by a community coming together, and we feel very excited about this. It's a large goal, but I think it's a very attainable goal. When you think about the various pieces of the campaign itself, and the slide kind of details this all out, but we've had success. As John said, we've raised $451,000 in this quiet period, and that's largely been by the staff We're Opening Doors campaign, which exceeded goal, raised $65,000 of that $451,000. So the staff, 100% participation, which is absolutely fantastic. The wonderfully generous campaign would not have happened without the signature gift from Dick Pearson. So I know we've said thank you, Dick. I don't think we can say thank you enough, and this would never have happened without your generous land donation. So again, thank you for that. And then last but not least, we formed a leadership team, and as John said, you saw their names on the board out in the atrium area. But the leadership team, everyone we've come to and asked, would you like to be part of this? They've said yes, and in just a very short period of time, they've contributed $126,000 to build up to that $451,000. So hopefully you hear the momentum we have. Again, you can look at it one way and say, wow, $5 million, that's a lot of money. Or you can look at it, we've been in a very quiet period and we've raised almost 10%. And I kind of look at it that way because of the interest that people have in this. People get it from an intellectual perspective, from the standpoint of the silvering of America. I always like that because I'm getting more gray hair, so I like silvering better. But the silvering of America, but then they get it from the heart, and some of the testimonials we heard today clearly speak to that. So we've got some more work to do in spreading the word. We've got more work to do in working with the foundations. The foundations will be a major part of this overall campaign. We hope to raise about $1.7 million of that $5 million through the work that we want to do with the foundations. And so we're in a period of time right now where we're expressing and telling our story a little bit, telling about the need, and talking a little bit about the community interests. There's also some other important parts of the campaign that I just want to briefly talk about because we'd like your help in them. Obviously, there's a visionary and major gifts portion of the campaign that that's currently underway. There's a corporate and business community giving portion of the campaign, and that will be in the late October, November, December timeframe. There's a financial, legal, and wealth advertisement community breakfast campaign, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here just briefly in a moment. There's a Kinship of Kindness family campaign where we hope to get 100 families to contribute $10,000 apiece. Okay, so a major portion of that, about $1 million, would be raised through the Kinship of Kindness. And there's a portion of the campaign that I'm excited about. It's the Extraordinary Women Giving Circle, which we're looking for 200 women to pledge $1,000 each for $200,000 of the campaign. So we have it. Again, I'm not doing it justice because the slide would do it better justice than I am, but there's major portions of this individual campaign that ladder up and give us a lot of hope and optimism that we will be successful in raising the $5 million. We've talked about it briefly a couple different times, and the video said this as well, but of the $5 million, approximately $1 million of that would be earmarked for endowment. And that's a very important aspect of this because we want this to be a hospice house for all. Regardless of your social, economic situation, we want to make sure that we can provide services for all folks. And I think that, to me, is another part that really calls to my heart and made me want to be part of this overall campaign. So, what do we need? We need your help. Okay, we need your help in multiple different ways. First and foremost, we need your help in spreading the word about this. There's a packet out in the atrium area. We're going to ask that you pick it up. We know who came in, so if you don't take one, we're going to find you. Okay, but please take a packet. There's a lot of great information about Adoray. There's an FAQ in there, and there's more detail about the individual project itself. So please take that packet. The other thing we'd like to ask tonight is we'd like you to consider helping us spread the word to your network. And we can do this multiple ways, and we really want your help in what is best suited for you. We can help you host a house party. Kind of sounds fun. And what I mean by that specifically is with your network of friends in your own way. We will help you if you would like to host that. I know that folks from the leadership team as well, or folks from the Adoray staff would help you with materials and potentially help you share information about the project itself. So please consider that. Please help us open the doors to your network from the context of if you know folks that would get excited about this project. Please help us by making an introduction in that process. If you're part of the some of the various work teams that I mentioned before, be it wealth management, real estate, etc., and you'd like to help us host a breakfast, we'll be there to help you. We can be a resource for that, and I know that's something that we want to engage in. Please consider a financial donation in the context of some of those interesting things that we talked a little bit about, the various portions of the campaign itself. And please help us by being involved and talking this up. I mean, if it's not a point in time where you feel like you can give part of your treasure, please think about offering your time and your talent. This is a wonderful community. We feel so blessed, Carrie and I, to be part of the Hudson community. We know that we're going to get this thing done, but it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting by a lot of folks. So just ask you to please consider that. And I'm between you and another glass of wine. So let me just once again say thank you so much for being here. And we're going to all kind of go out to the atrium. And certainly if you have questions about the campaign, please ask. Don't go home with questions unanswered. Thank you again.